Good evening, I'm Killian.
And I'm ZeroFoxGiven.
And you're listening to DormalTalk.
Today's episode, Short Tales of Horror.
Ilame by I Post at Midnight. Little Emily vanished last year. Now they're pouring new sidewalks in my neighborhood, and I found her name in the wet cement, written in remembrance. But it was written in reverse, and from below.
So many questions.
She's still in there, dude. They need to get her out.
Now, but here's the thing. Here's what's weird. Is this guy stupid or the killer? Because if he was the killer, he wouldn't be like, oh, I just found her, but it's written like this. Have you ever heard of stories about Kevin?
No. Who's Kevin?
Stories about Kevin is another Reddit thread. Maybe we'll do a video on that sometimes. They're just stories about people who are not the brightest, and they kind of like add the inkling of that stupidity towards Kevin Malone from The Office. So that's why they call it stories about Kevin. But really, it's about any random person that's just not fully there. Thus, that's why I'm like, is this a story about Kevin in the crossover right here or what? Because yeah, if it's fresh cement and you see the name written backwards, it's like, yeah, obviously somebody is under there. Pull them out. It's wet.
Yeah, or, I mean, maybe if I was a killer and I wanted to extend the terror and the horror of what I would have done, I would do something like that, in the middle of the night, even though it wouldn't have been real. Like, if you're a killer, you kill a little girl, and there's coverage of it, and then it's all over, and no one's talking about you anymore, but you used to like when all that attention was on you, as killers do sometimes. Maybe you go out in the middle of the night, find some wet cement, and do something to bring attention back.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, with this guy, if we go just based off face value, he's not the killer. Mm-hmm. So why isn't he attempting to get in there? That's my point. Like, what is up with this dude?
Yeah, he needs to get in there. He needs to roll his sleeves up for sure.
I gotta get in there. Sorry, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge reference for all you Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge fans out there.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, that short, sweet, to the point. Yeah.
R.I.P. Emily. Hands by Minboy. The doctor pulled the stethoscope ear tips out and hung the device around his neck. Mr. Weatherby, all of your tests have come back negative, and my examination shows nothing abnormal. Adam knew what was coming next. I'm not crazy, doctor. I'm sorry, but there is no physical reason for why you occasionally lose control of your hands. A psychologist can help. I don't need therapy. I need answers. They seem to have a life all their own. I can't hold a job. I'm under investigation for assault. I almost killed my neighbor. This can't go on. I'll try anything at this point. After 2 weeks on a new medication, Adam saw no progress and grew increasingly depressed. He was convinced that despite what the doctor said, it was not a psychological problem. That night, a frustrated and angry Adam sat in a chair and drank bourbon. Drunk and hopeless, he stumbled to the garage and started to the table saw. Then slowly lowered his wrist towards the screaming blade. Detective Armstrong entered the garage where several uniformed officers stood over the blood-soaked body. So what do we got? He asked, taking in the blood-splattered scene. This is a weird one, Detective. How so? Take a look at the body. He apparently chopped off his hands with the table saw and bled to death. Armstrong knelt down. And we can't find his hands anywhere.
Well, bloody hell.
Yeah, that was a good one. So it turns out those hands did have a life all their own. They were in charge the whole time.
Yeah, apparently they went ahead and were like, all right, cool, you're going to cut us off? Well, more stuff for us to do.
But I don't think it was him that cut his hands off as much. It was the hands that cut the body off. I know he drank bourbon and started to the table, but those hands were definitely controlling his brain at a point.
I don't know if they did control his brain because of the fact that, like he was saying in there, he knows that these things are wrong and he doesn't want to do it, and he knew there was something wrong. So if they were controlling his brain, he wouldn't even have the inkling of it. At least I would believe. that's why I think like they're like, oh, so this is what you're gonna do. It works for us.
Well, there's two parts of the brain, though. There's the action and then what you think about the action. So it sounds like he was under control about what he thought about the action. He knew it was bad, but he couldn't control the action.
Right, but when you read it, it doesn't really mention anything about other appendages, body parts, not his legs, nothing else. So that's what I'm saying. I think it could have just legitimately been the hands that were like, hey, we got a mind of our own, but we have no control over the rest of this. But if he cuts us off, he's dead, and we're free to play.
They can do whatever they want. At that point, they can go do things that only hands can do, like clap for people.
On the other hand, they could just have fallen and died. I couldn't help it.
I guess that is an option, yes.
Yeah. You know, people tend to get a little handsy these days.
Okay, you're getting out of hand now. With these
Maybe
puns.
we just got off on the wrong foot, so maybe we should get off on the right hand.
Return of the Messiah by Hunt Frog. In the year 2026, the Messiah came back down to earth. She performed miracles and cured the sick. There was no doubt as to her authenticity. She appeared to all nations at once. All believed. All worshipped her. Some time later, after this period of our history, known as the Age of Peace, she dropped a bombshell on us. She warned us that heaven was almost full. Nobody had gone to hell during this age. There were a fixed amount of spots left. Paradise would be closed to all who died after the gates close. That is when the mass suicides began. Taking your own life, she had told us, was not a sin if you died a pious man. And the race was on. She looked on and was pleased. She returned to her home, to her throne of fire and flames, and greeted all with a nod of her wicked horns.
This gives me that Avenged Sevenfold Beast and the Harlot vibes, bro. Tell me it doesn't.
I understand. I see exactly what you're saying. That was a great story, very creepily written.
Well, you know, they say she's a dwelling place for demons.
She's a dwelling place for demons. Classic.
I love that song. All jokes aside, dude, like, it kind of does go with the story from the Bible, but in its own little spin. Because I know you're not particularly religious, but the theory of the Antichrist is that the Antichrist will come back and reveal themselves as a good person and, you know, claim to be, claim themselves to be a good person and to, you know, instill peace and make things seem well until their 7th year of power and reign. That is when they reveal their true intentions and who they are.
Well, that sounds exactly like what's happening in this story.
Right. Except for she didn't reveal it to them before the mass suicide or anything. She revealed it to them once they were in hell.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like it took its own little turn, but like using that as a basis, like, yeah, I really digging like this writing and this Hunt Fry guide. He wrote the Perfect Plan one too that we read a while back. That was a good one too, and this is the second video where we mentioned the Perfect Plan. Go figure. Hunt Frog, if you see this video ever, reach out to us, bro. Maybe we could just collaborate and you could just start writing directly for us, man.
Yeah, we'd love to do a debut. You write something, we debut it on our podcast, and then we're rolling.
Right, and then all y'all listening out there, make sure you subscribe to our Patreon and Subscribe Stars and help back us so we can afford to pay Hunt Frog.
The Happiest Day of My Life by Reclutus. I watched as my soon-to-be father-in-law held his daughter's hand as he walked down the aisle. Tears streamed down his face as the wedding march that played in the background reminded him that, in a few minutes, he would be watching me hold his daughter's hand and slipping on her ring. He walked up to the altar, and I took hold of her hand, grinning from ear to ear. It was the happiest day of my life. My bride's father got down on his knees and started begging, "Please, I did what you asked. Just please give my daughter back." I glared at him. "Shut up and stop ruining the moment. If you sit back down and enjoy the ceremony, maybe I'll tell you where I've hidden the rest of her body. Oh no, we got another handsy one on our hands, I guess.
Stories like this force your hand.
They really do.
In this case, in marriage.
Look at that. Wow, what a story. There's something about hands detached from bodies just really know how to get to you, just really hit that spooky nerve.
Yeah, seriously. And this one, man, like the look on your face when reading that last part, it just was like, the hell am I reading right now?
Yeah, when I started to realize that he was staging this big thing and maybe it wasn't a legitimate ceremony is when I really started to get nervous. Something about a fake ceremony holding the wedding goers hostage is so creepy.
Not to mention like how it all sounds at the beginning. While I did think it was going to take a dark turn, obviously, I wasn't expecting her to already be dead. I was expecting, like, basically he was holding maybe another of his children hostage, or maybe someone else in the family, and like unless he married the daughter to him. That's where my mind was at until, of course, then I'll tell you where I've hidden the rest of her body. Like, it's like, whoa.
So rough, dude. That is bad.
Yeah, that one. That's enough to give you nightmares. Oh, you gotta hand it to this guy. He definitely knew what he was doing writing this. Next time you'll know better. Bye. I post at midnight. Have you ever walked into a room and found a vampire? No, not the sexy kind, but a foul creature with bony limbs and ashen skin. The kind that snarls as you enter, like a beast about to pounce. The kind that roots you to the spot with its sunken, hypnotic eyes, rendering you unable to flee as you watch the hideous thing uncoil from the shadows. Has your heart started racing though your legs refuse to? You felt time slow as the creature crosses the room in the darkness of a blink. Have you shuddered with fear when it places one clawed hand atop your head and another under your chin so it can tilt you, exposing your neck? Have you squirmed as its dry, rough tongue slides down your cheek, over your jaw, onto your throat in a slithering search that's seeking your artery? Have you felt its hot breath releasing a hiss against your skin when it probes your pulse, the flow that leads to your brain? Has its tongue rested there, throbbing slightly, as if savoring the moment? Have you then experienced a sinking, sucking blackness as you discover that not all vampires feed on blood? Some feed on memories? Well, have you? Maybe not. But let me rephrase the question. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgot why you came in?
Wow, what a read. And absolutely, yes, I've walked into a room, forgot why I was there. I thought it was just because of years of recreational substance, but now I know better.
Of course, didn't you know it was a vampire in the room? That's exactly what it was. Jokes aside, man, did you ever watch Doctor Who?
I only saw like the first season of the reboot.
I believe it was the first season where they first brought up these guys, and then they played a bigger role later. But there was this creature that what it did was like, if you turned away from it, it would like erase your memories. And it's not to be confused with the Weeping Angels. They had these Weeping Angels, but that one they would send you back in time and feed off of that radiation. That was the Weeping Angels. But these aliens, like you would look at them and you would see them, and the instant you turned away, you would forget that you saw them, and they would like wipe your memory. So like the Doctor and some of his apprentices and like his travel companions, they would like mark themselves and like leave notes on their skin was their way of getting around it, because as soon as you turn away, you no longer see it.
Wow.
Yeah, and that totally gave me the vibes of this.
Yeah, it's definitely similar vibes. Man, to think that a vampire can just suck the thoughts right out of you is terrifying. It really is.
I mean, we truly don't know exactly what they do for, if they exist. We all assume that they don't. But if they did, like, who's to say that they actually suck blood? Who's to say?
Who? I have no idea. Could be anyone.
Pete Townsend. Thank you for joining us on DormalTalk. Make sure to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And we'll be back at you with another video soon. And as always, have a wonderful day.